Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro friends. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Elixir Specialty Coffee. Looks like whiskey, feels like tea, made from coffee, and unlike anything you've ever tasted before, Elixir is a ready-to-go bottled coffee product that is available for you to purchase as a wholesaler or to just drink it off our website, elixirspecialtycoffee.com. Today on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, we are talking about the fact that it's already October and that in a few months it's going to be a brand new decade. And what that means, what opportunity that presents to us with regards to planning, with regards to the energy that's involved in that, the hype that we can bring to our own businesses, to our own careers. So what does that all involve? And I'm going to share some things with you about what I'm personally doing to prepare for the next decade and for the next year. Excuse me. So for me, coming into a new decade, I'm a big believer of planning in 10-year blocks. And so coming into this new decade, the way that I'm looking at it is by the way that I look at all 10-year maps. What do I want the end of it to look like? And at Map It Forward, when we do either one-on-one coaching with businesses or professionals, we always talk about creating a map, and it's a 10-year map. And we look at, well, what is it that you want to experience in the next 10 years? And so for me, it's no different. I do the same thing for myself and for my businesses. Excuse me while I take a sip of tea there. I do the same thing for myself as well as for my businesses. And so what is it that I want my own career to experience over the next 10 years? And what is it that I want my businesses to experience over the next 10 years? So do I want to experience a certain amount of growth? Do I want to go, and what does that growth look like? Do I want to go further across the country with one of my businesses, and with the other one, do I want to go more global, or do I want to go global with both of them? And what does it look like at the end of that 10-year period? For me personally, I am taking a look at in planning for the next 10 years, what has the last 10 years given me? Have I achieved the 10-year goals that I set out for myself? Have I experienced it the way that I thought I would experience it? And have I enjoyed the ride as much as it has challenged me, or have I enjoyed it less than it has challenged me? And it's important for me, and you guys know I'm in my early 40s, and so as I move through every decade, I want to be looking at it, well, where this doesn't have to get easier necessarily. I thought it would get easier, but it's not that it gets easier, because the next level of hard keeps showing up when you're on the kind of journey that I'm on, and when you're on the kind of journey that anyone who would listen to this podcast or find any interest in this podcast would be on. So it's not that it gets easier, it's just that the bracket of hard goes up next level. So if it's not going to get hard, what does it get if we're constantly working through shit and trying to get better? Well, you find yourself in better flow. You find yourself better able to adapt to challenging situations. You see things coming before they'll happen. And this is why we do maps, is because we identify the skills that we want to learn that will prepare us for the next stage. And if you haven't ever looked at one of the career maps that we've got, so far we've got the barista map, we've got the roasters map, we've got the cafe owners map, and we've got the wholesale salesperson map. If you've never taken a look at any of our maps, the next time we get to offer a course, there are a few of them available on as webinars that include the maps. these maps are really, really helpful to give you an idea of what your first 10 years should look like in the positions that the maps are related to. And for me, I kind of sit in a different scope with regards to just having one career. I'm running two businesses that are on the cutting edge of innovation in their field. And so I can't title specifics of, okay, so I'm going to open a cafe, or open a second cafe, and open, get this many employees, and know that this is the target numbers I need to reach before I can start thinking about opening up a third store, whatnot, etc. For me, what I'm trying to do is things like learn how to crack a market with regards to this bottled beverage that nobody's ever released before. How do I get the information that is in Map It Forward out to more people in the coffee industry? How do we expand the podcast from 14,000 unique subscribers a month to 100,000 unique subscribers a month? These are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about and including in my map at the moment for the next 10 years. And as I said at the beginning, we start at the end and then we track back. So there are 3 sections in a career map or a business map. The first 2 years are establishing the fundamentals, mastering the fundamental skills. So I will take a look at what it is that I want to have achieved in my businesses and in my career within 10 years, so over the next new decade. And I will understand what are the fundamental skills I need to master and start working on those next year and the year after that. And, an example of that is, I know I definitely, absolutely want to master bookkeeping so that I can understand the intricacies, not just the high level stuff. I want to understand the intricacies of bookkeeping in a business. And so I'm going to start a QuickBooks course next year that someone who is studying bookkeeping would typically take, not what a CEO would take. So that's a skill set that I want to challenge myself to bring on board. So that's an example of a fundamental skill that will help me transition through to where I want to take the companies in over the next 10 years. Also, I am going to look at some personal development things that I would like to do with regards to myself. I'm going to look at, in 10 years, I'd like to be very physically strong. And so I'm going to start challenging myself to, I hesitate to say this here because that means I'm going to have to do it, but I'm thinking about starting jiu-jitsu or something like that, because I would like to do some self-defense classes, but I'd also like to challenge myself to do something that is going to challenge my mind as much as my body. So the first 2 years are all about establishing having looked at where you want to be in 10 years, how do I build that foundation with the first 2 years and master the fundamental skills. Then in the next 3 years, what you're doing is you're taking the skills that you established in the puppy years, which is the first 2 years, you're going to take those and you're going to develop them further. So you're going to acclimate or acclimatize those skills to your style. And you're going to massage them, develop them, grow them, do all that kind of thing so that they become more something that suits you. And then the third phase is the next 5 years after that. So the whole second half of your 10-year map is all about becoming a professional and an expert. So you'll spend the next 5 years working on developing leadership in the skills it is that you're trying to get to by the end of your map. And so the next 5 years is taking the skills that you've mastered and developed in the first half of your map and using those skills to drive home over the next 5 years to exactly what it is you're trying, or you will achieve by the end of your 10-year map. I hope that that's been helpful. I'd love to hear what you guys have planned for the next year and the next 10 years, because it's a very exciting time. The beginning of a decade just brings a new energy about it, and it's already October. It doesn't feel like it's heading towards the end of the year, but we're well on the way to the end of the year. And so let's get planning, let's get thinking, let's get considering what it is that we would like our lives, businesses, careers to look like at the end of the next decade, so that we can get planning and growing this industry and getting it more professional and flowing more like a constantly budding industry. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.